All right, y'all. All right, we are back. We are back, y'all. All right, man. What's going on with World Rugby? Look, they announced this week that they were like, hey, we need a new plan. We need to make people feel interested in this game a touch bit more. And I think we came up with something to enhance our entertainment value. So, okay. You know what? Before I throw out my opinion, let you take it out to Alan Gilpin to be able to speak on this a little bit, so that maybe there's some context that goes along with it that might actually help shape this out a little bit. So let's take it over to them. All right, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right. So, Alan, let us know what this is all about.
Shape of the Game 4 has become a really important moment for our sport, and really is all about how do we make rugby better. And when we say better, we mean how do we make the game safer for those who are playing it and better for those who are watching it. And it's our chance now to bring together all of the important stakeholders in the game, whether that's match officials, players, coaches, people involved in the medical and player welfare side of the game, along with media interests and broadcasters. So a really wide range of interests, all channeled towards making the game better.
What are the major outcomes of this forum?
Major outcomes this year really have all been looked at through the lens of the fan. And how do we make sure we've got a game that fans want to watch, want to enjoy, and again, ultimately make the sport better? So a lot of that comes down to speeding the game up. So the fan lens really important this year. Lots around the breakdown, tackle area, scrums, line-outs, the successes we've seen with using shot clocks in the past. Can they be applied in more areas of the game? Some working groups now on the tackle area, the jackler, some of the terminology we use as well around the game, making sure that's understandable, not just for die-hard rugby fans around the world, but for fans who are new to the sport. So there's still lots more work to do on those outcomes, but I think we've got an agreed set of outcomes across the game that when we start to implement them and start to trial them, we really will start to see a better sport.
All right. So, all right. Not very much being said, but don't worry, they dropped the article, so I got you guys. So, looking into it, it looks like they have they have 5 phases that's going to be going to this 5-part plan that's going into this. Now, I'm gonna break down each one, but let's listen. I'm gonna name them off. Number 1, it's the law application guidelines and reinforcing existing laws. Second phase is law amendment recommendations for global adaptation. You know what? Let me just throw this up here as well too, because why be alone on these when you don't have to be. All right. Third phase is the closed law trials. Fourth phase is the specialist work groups. This involves on and off field sanctions, tackle ruck breakdowns, television match officials, protocol replacements, the fan experience, and tackle height. And then the 5th phase is examining the impact of specific aspects of the game in new rugby labs. So let's kind of start off with number 1, because I looked through this and I was not impressed. And again, okay, I'm really trying to work hard not to be overly critical of World Rugby because of the fact that I know there's a lot of difficulty. You're trying to do a lot of quick pulling together of things into place, but my goodness, sometimes it's just you're looking at the wrong thing. Sometimes you're just looking at the wrong thing. So, all right, so let's go into it. First and foremost, law application guideline reinforcing existing laws. All right, starting on March 19th, there will be an exception of strict applications of current laws by referees globally. This means law 15.17, which is players will be expected to use the ball more quickly when the ball has been secured at the ruck breakdown. Referees will be asked to use it earlier, which will begin the 5-second countdown to play ball away. Law 1910, hookers will be expected to maintain a full break foot to aid scrum stability, safety during the engagement sequence. Any adjustment must be maintained the act of the break. And Law 6.29, which is the strict reinforcement of the 2022 law trial relating to water carriers entering to the field of play. All right. First and foremost, the first one, 15.17. I'm actually here for it. We're about speeding up the game and trying to get things moving. It sucks for the scrum house, especially in the fly house, who are trying to set up calls and whatnot. But especially in 15s, obviously, I think that's really big to make this go, make decision making a lot faster. Here for it. It's going to make it a more forwards game, in my opinion, because it's going to be the closer action and then trying to bounce it out. But that being said, I'm not actually mad with this one in terms of a viewing experience. The hookers will be expected to maintain a full break foot. I don't fully actually know what the hell that means. We're gonna have to ask somebody about that. I might be coming back on it, but it seems like it's just something is within the ruck, and at least no lifting up. So you can't lift up your leg and try and grab it with both legs. So it's not like you have one foot and you're hooking it yourself. But literally, sometimes the hookers will get lifted up and then for an easier access with their one leg to pull it in. So it seems like we're going to maintain it on the ground. And I feel like that one impacts more on the club and professional level than it does on the international level. But we'll go with it. And then the water carriers entering into it. I don't actually know what the 2022 law is, but I'm pretty sure you're going to have to, the time period between when they do it is going to be different. All right. Second phase is the law amendment recommendations for global adoption. This is a package of law amendments will be considered by the World Rugby Council on May 9th, aimed to enhance game continuity. The recommended adjustments is the Law 10 in relation to players being put on side when there's kicks in open play as per the current Super Rugby Pacific trial, which aims to reduce kick tennis, I'm actually here for that. F all this running back and forth and jumping it like, just I hope they, but I do wonder what the adjustment will be. Number 2 of that is removal of the scrum option from a free kick at scrum, reducing dead time. So free kick, either you're gonna go for it or you're gonna kick it, which sucks for strategically because the scrum also is a controlling play. I know it slows down the game. I don't know if I'm fully here for it, but I do like the idea that the action is a little bit more enhanced as a result of that. So I mean, it can go in either way, but for me, I'm a big fan of still being able to utilize those scrums to be able to create control. And it really does set a whole different set piece of actions rather than just pick and go from that. And obviously with the free kick, you can take it into the touch line, but sometimes it's not where it goes, but I'm not against it totally. And outlawing the practice of the croc roll, reinforcing player welfare focus. I have no idea what the croc roll is. Hold on, let's look this up real quick. Croc roll is according to the sun.co.uk, the crocodile roll refers to a move in rugby union to remove an opponent standing over the ball. The player performs the move, will grab the opponent around the torso, use their body weight to roll them to the side. The name comes of that's some BS. Nah, man, the croc roll is legit. Like, I get it. Like, okay, we want to push them over and do it. But, man, I love being able to throw a person over. But I do understand also, of one, it sets the line. Number 2, it's kind of like the hip placement, I think, very equivalent in some ways, not exactly, to the hip tackle in football, though not as egregious, but I'm assuming this is to reduce the injuries. But I guess, pulling players forward and at least destabilizing them or coming in hard on the ruck, though. I hope there's not a lessening of being able to destabilize the ruck from point to point. So I feel like that's kind of an important factor of the game that we should be legitimately concerning about. Next on that list is the third phase, closed law trials. This is union and competition owners will be encouraged to implement the package of closed law trials, which can be adopted at domestic or cross-border level and aimed at enhancing game continuity. This includes expansion of the shot clock for scrums and lineouts and reducing kicking time. The ability to mark the ball inside the 22 line from a restart, promoting an attacking position option. The ball must be played after the maul has been stopped once, not twice. Protection of the 9 at the base of the scrum, ruck, and at the maul following successful trials in Major League Rugby in the US and in elite and community competitions in New Zealand. And then lastly, play on for line out, not straight if the throw is uncontested. That one I think is the biggest deal. That one is a great actually addition. I am in wholesome agreement with that. Play out on the line out if there's uncontested, because one of the most annoying things is whenever the hooker is thrown into the line out, the other team doesn't contest it, but the ref still calls an offsides on the ball being thrown in. Like, and then you have to restart it all over again. So not only are you punished for still doing the work, you got to do it again. The other team has the advantage because you're slightly more tired than you were before. And it didn't really make a difference because they weren't going to go for it anyways. This one's going to really impact on sevens. I think so. But like, I actually am really here for that one. That speeds the game up. And let's get into continuity, because sticking to the touchline just gets old. And the lineouts just, they're not great. They're not great. The one that's really interesting to me is the ball must be played after the maul has been stopped once, not twice, which means that impacts the roll, the second phase of it. Drag, roll, go. So you're going to have to make sure that you're maintaining and holding. That, I think, is a big deal, but I also think it's actually good for the game. I do think getting the ball out quickly from that. I love a good moving ruck in essence, but you want the ball to move, get it out to the backs. Also saves a lot of energy from the forwards as well too, so they can be able to spread out and get back into position. But at the goal line, I think it's going to be a big difference. That one could be very impactful. But I think, again, much more at the professional and subsequently at the club level than at the international level. The expansion of the shot clock for scrums and lineouts. I mean, again, I get it because you're setting plays, getting people into position. I get it more for the lineout than I do for the scrum, just because, again, it's on the scrum half, and we already have to get the ball. Scrum halves already have to get the ball in fairly quickly. So I don't know if that really is going to make a big deal, but reducing kicking time, I think, is actually a good idea, especially on the which I think this is more forward, probably pointed at the conversion. So sitting for 30 seconds, 15 seconds on conversion does just eat play, and it's dismantling to it, and it's just like, let's go. I feel bad for the players because there's a process of the walk, the breathing, everything like that. But I get it for what they want from that one. In terms of protection of the 9 at the base of the scrum and the ruck, cool. Ability to mark the ball inside the 22 from a restart, promoting an attacking option. Again, cool. Advantageous. I don't know if that's going to be super heavy on a big deal, but I think it's, again, speeds up the game. Let's just get this thing started, especially. Like, just go. Fourth phase is specialist work groups, all right? Specialist working groups will be established to further explore aspects identified by the shape of the game form for further consideration. All right, now this implies on and off field sanctions, comprehensive review of sports disciplinary sanctions, sanctioning process with the objective of streamlining, increasing simplicity of the simplicity, consistency, and fan understanding. A key consideration will be the potential to combine stronger off-field sanctions for a foul play with a global red card trial, where a carded player is removed for a duration of the match, but may be replaced by another player after 20 minutes. That I think that's not a bad idea. I do believe like the red card needs to be a powerful indicator, and losing a player for the next upcoming match, I think, is a heavy fine. But I think it's good for a red card. But to punish the team in totality, especially if you get like a red card in the like first 5-10 minutes of the game, like, that's kind of like some BS that they have to be at 14 for the entire game. Like, I get it's a team sport, but it's also an individual punishment. Like the yellow card, even though it's because it's shortened, I get the 14. The punishment is that, but a red card and out for the entire, that's nonsense. So I do like the 20-minute reduction that goes to it, as opposed to the duration of the time that player is off the field. But I also think it means that you have to make the red cards truly an egregious punishment and not incidental, which I think comes now into tackle ruck breakdown, which is a major review of safety and spectacle issues as they relate to the breakdown, such as the impacting of contesting the ball on the floor, jackal as opposed to an upright driving game. Again, you know, especially because there's so much player welfare that's being involved with rugby in this moment. Like, I really do feel like this needs to be taken really strongly a look at. And if I'm understanding it correctly, obviously, I think it comes down to incidental attacks. Like, what's going to happen? Again, the head concussions, I think those need to be looked at strongly. I get, again, you're trying to prevent lawsuits for the future, but if you got an incidental attack that clearly was more of a bounce off than it was a hit, it shouldn't be such a heavy hit to the team, and you get a red card, and then your team's out indefinitely because your player's out indefinitely because of something that they wasn't intentional. They tried to do the tackle and just happens because it's still a bang game. So we'll see that one and the jackal as opposed to an upright driving game. We'll see into that one. I'm again not totally sure what that is, but I don't care to look it up. Television match officials, TMO protocol. So that means determine the optimal remit of the TMO protocol while setting new minimum standards for the technology provider. Honestly, if you take away TMO, I won't be mad at it. Just take it away. I think there's a time and place that has gone to it, but again, put the replay on the refs. Obviously, that's not what they're talking about. They're just trying to talk about setting a different standard for what the TMO is supposed to do. But I think it's too much, too far. You put too much pressure on people that are not in the game. You put too much on tiny incidental movements that are baked up by pixelation of each element, and you start to like over officiate the game, and it's too much. But I don't want them to go swing to the other side where there's like nothing, but have just a normal replay system. Just have a normal replay system. You see it up on the replay, play it in real time, play slightly in 0.25 time to be able to see if there's any incidents. Play it before and play it after each try, and then subsequently go from there. Like it really shouldn't be such a heavy component of the game, man. It's just so much. It's unnecessary, bro. Replacements. Examine the latest in research on impact of fatigue, the number of and timing of replacements in the elite game to determine options that might create more space on the field while improving injury rates. Again, this one is toss up. I feel like this is going to be the clash between the purists versus the new generation. Because the purists are always going to say, you're toughest because you have to play to 80 minutes. You only get 6 subs. And as a result of that, you really need to make the most of your time on the pitch with that 7 subs. I'm sorry. You only get 7 subs and you need to make the time of the pitch, or you make sure your conditioning is up. I think on the new gen side, you got more athletes, you got stronger, bigger, faster. And obviously now the impact has a bigger ripple effect on the players. So increasing either the number of substitutions that you can have, or maybe even when those substitutions can have, I think is a big deal. I don't think it should change the game too significantly, and if anything, can maybe improve it. But I wouldn't want them to get to a point where it's almost borderline rolling subs in that situation. I think it's still there's still the value of rugby enforcing the conditioning to happen the way that it needs to happen with taking things into place. And then the fan experience, which I think should have been a phase in and of itself. But obviously, they just can put it as a partial, which is building rugby's attention via a fan-focused view of how the game is marketed, a consistent approach to presentation of the sport across all media environments, and a focus on the moments in the game that really engage the fans. This will include a thorough review of language terminology that is used within the game. Now, this one is I think a very dangerous one to go with. Now, I get the idea of wanting to have a consistency of terminology across the game. That one I do like, but we also have to play into the factor that we have very different cultural elements to it. So whether there's reason like in the US, I mean, we take it in, and of course we accept it. But I'm not gonna lie, like I don't want to ever call a stiff arm a fend off. Like I hate the term, you know. But I also understand, like for me, extra point feels so much more natural than just a conversion, But I get it, I do get it. I will say whatever I want, especially from a media standpoint, but I'm sure they're probably talking about with their greater partners since they don't pay me anything. So like they're talking about their bigger partners for the Rugby World Cup or probably the broadcasters when it comes to the professional games. But that one I think helps like very minutely. I think the bigger one is a consistent approach to presentation of the sport across all media environments and focus on moments in the game that really engage the fans. That one, I like. They are not good at this part. All right, like they're obviously talking about taking clips and doing clips, which is specifically great for TikTok, which I see them testing and seeing their increase in engagement. They're talking about for Twitter and obviously their social media accounts and being able to take those clips and making the most off of them because those are the things that attract the games. Those are the things that other media outlets provide. But I think the bigger deal, which is what they should be, I hope that's what they're talking about, is how they allow the dissemination of that information. Because what we saw from the Rugby World Cup, really from the Rugby World Cup, was like World Rugby, like kiboshing the ability to really truly share their clips that are online. Like I get that they got their partners, but if your partners are TV partners, let them be for TV. Let them take their packages and they can do what they want for the TV. But when it comes online, that is a different game. That is a different element. And you need to be able to allow your distributions to be able to send. Obviously, watermark the ish. Watermark it. Do what you got to do. But don't prevent or what's the word? Don't tag, what do they call it? Negatively tag, prosecute the other distributors for your clips that you have online. These are not the ones that you put online should not be the ones that you're holding for restriction. That's your marketing. That's the one that you want the furthest amount of engagement to go to. So I'm hoping that is where they're talking about in increasing the fan engagement and the media and how it presents. And then, of course, just, obviously the conversation on the game, which, again, they're not talking about, but I know a lot is probably going to go through Rugby Pass and, of course, their broadcast partners. And then lastly, within that element, you have tackle height, which I think is always big deal, is a deal, but I think we're starting to learn. Obviously you can't go up here. I think below the chest is a little bit iffy, but getting it right at the chest and then below, I think is fine. And it shouldn't be overly punished if people get up here, but obviously if you get into the neck and the head, hyper punish around the shoulders, obviously punishment, not with the red, but definitely with the yellow. It makes sense. I get that. And they're, especially for the elite side, whatever. And then lastly, they talk about examine the impact of specific aspects of the game in the new rugby law, which again, it means for them says new rugby labs, which enables World Rugby to test out new aspects of law in a controlled environment evaluated by data and player feedback will be utilized to examine the impact of aspects of the game that either have impact on speed or safety. These are likely to include scrum engagement sequences and tackle ruck area, which goes back to what we talked about over in bloody what is it? Phase 2? Yeah. In phase 2, when they're talking about onside, or is it phase 1? I was talking about for phase 1, players will be expected to use the ball. No. Where the heck is it? Oh, it goes back to phase 4 on and off field sanctions. So like that one I think is important. Again, you're on the field. It's a bang game. Like players should not be punished for unintentional and a lot of incidental actions. Like there's plenty of intentional and there's plenty of egregiously incidental issues. But if it's passively incidental, obviously call it what it is, and that's where I go to the pixelation. So if you're providing a counsel or working with the union to be able to provide some kind of commentary and feedback that they will actually listen to and impact the rest of the rules, I'm here for it. And I want to see them do what they need to do with that. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this, man. Like, again, World Rugby is in this process where they need to make money. They need to get ready for the Rugby World Cup. They got obviously the Olympics that they're going to promote on, even though they don't own the Olympics, but they got to promote off of that because that's where one of the biggest audiences that they can have is going to be there. But what are they going to do? Like, what's your thoughts on it? Do you feel like these are good? Do you feel like these make sense? Do you have any pushback? Even if I don't understand some of the stuff, let me know. I appreciate you guys for it, man.
My name is GiftTime available with Health Enhanced Foods. I want to talk to you a little bit about one of my favorite products, buckwheat baking mix. Why is buckwheat baking mix important to you? The one thing that you want to be able to do whenever you're eating your food is to not have to worry about whether it's going to be healthy or whether it's going to be good for your body. When it comes with buckwheat, this is one of those few seeds that have a plethora of layers when it comes to what your health is. And within the buckwheat baking mix, it is great for those who want to be able to use it for pancakes, waffles, being able to make your bread, making homemade pasta. Like, absolutely spectacular for that. Now, it's not limited to those, but those are some of the best ways that we have found our customers being able to take care of it. On top of that, why is it so important? It gives you the protein energy that you absolutely need. And if you're an active person, I'm a very active person. I play rugby, I like to work out. This one feeds back the muscles, feeds back your body exactly what you need, and in a great way to be able to start off your day. It's rich in fiber. It is absolutely nutrient dense. And of course, it has the level of protein that you really are wanting to need whenever you want to make sure that your body is feeding well. This is absolutely the breakfast food for anybody who is really trying to make sure that their kids or themselves really kick off correctly. And it's absolutely easy to make. All you need to do is put a little bit of baking flour to give it rise, and it has everything else that you need for it. 20 minutes and you'll be done and filled up and ready to go on with the rest of your day. You guys can absolutely go buy this on healthenhancedfoods.com and be able to go ahead and check out that buckwheat baking mix. Enjoy your food, enjoy your breakfast. Let's go.